Hi and welcome to my knitting vlog. I wanted to do something that gave you the chance to sit down, do something that makes you calm, gives you some space to just relax. I've heard my good friend Karen has a knitting vlog in Danish where she almost every day makes videos of approximately 30 minutes long, where she gives Danish women the opportunity to sit and enjoy her talking about her knitting, talking about her everyday life. And she does that because the rumor is that a lot of women don't take the time to give themselves the opportunity to de-stress every day. So I wanted to do a vlog not every day because I have a full-time job, which is very common for women here in Denmark. I have 2 children who lives at home. They are 9 and 5 years old. I also have 2 daughters who have moved away from home. They are 20 and 18 years old, and we live here a bit out in the countryside in Denmark with my husband and the 2 children. I am an administrative consultant at the Danish traffic board. That's my full-time job, and I do a knitting podcast in Danish, and I wanted to do an English podcast because I haven't seen any. I've seen a lot of people do podcasts, but podcasts might be a bit long, and I just wanted to do something more short. So today I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Marie. I have a very Danish name, but internationally I would be called Marie. I am 43 years old. I'm getting at the age where age doesn't really matter to me. So I always kind of have to figure out how old I am. It's a bit embarrassing because you should be able to remember exactly how old you are when you are able to remember the ages of your 4 children and your husband. My husband is 45. He just turned 45 a couple of days ago. I totally love knitting, and now my 9-year-old is calling me because that's what children do. They call their mom. Most likely because she just figured out that I put on Little Einsteins on Disney Plus, and she would prefer to see something else because Little Einsteins is kind of like a thing for younger children, like Carl is. And now she's trying to call me at the window. Hang on, I might be forced to answering her before she interrupts us too much. Hvad så?
Det er fordi, at jeg har taget min plaster på, fordi min sår var ikke helt helet, og de her også plaster, de er altså rigtig svære at pakke op.
Okay.
Og der kommer sådan en revne i, fordi jeg prøver at rykke det af.
Okay. Kan du ikke gå ind og se fjernsyn? Jeg er lige ved at optage en lille video. Smutgranat. Jo.
Jeg har så fandt krammer først.
Ja. she just hit her elbow and needed a hug to get better, apparently. So that's the way it is with children. I don't really have the opportunity to do something like this, and not having children around, I can see that that's very common for a lot of knitting podcasters, because a lot of us are moms and we have children to take care of, and we have jobs. A lot of us, at least a lot of the Danish podcasters, have full-time jobs. So a lot of Danish podcasters have to do podcasts in their spare time when they have a day off, maybe on Saturdays, but then the children will be home. That's just the way it is. That is mom life. And I know it has an end, because now my oldest daughters have moved away from home. And I am glad that I still have two very much younger children who are still home, because I'm not sure I was ready for empty nest yet. Having an empty nest at the age of 43 might be a bit too young if you ask me, but I was very young when I had them. I was 22 when I got my oldest daughter, and I was 24 when I had my second daughter. Yes. The youngest daughters are from my first marriage, and the two younger children are from my current second marriage. I hope you have a sit down right now, enjoying, just watching. Maybe you can hear the birds. We have a lot of birds in this garden. This garden is around 1,000 square meters big. It's a very, very big garden. I might show you parts of it during these small videos. Can you hear them? All the birds? I think this is it for today. I hope you had the time to sit down and relax, maybe listening to this, giving yourself the time and the space to have a me moment and not being interrupted too much. I know that when I watch a podcast, I can get, I can pause it for 3 or 4 times, because then there is a child, then there is food preparations, then the laundry. I do a lot of podcast watching while I'm doing the laundry. Maybe I watch more knitting podcasts when I'm not knitting than when I am knitting. So I hope I got your, in Denmark we would say your pulse down. I'm not sure you would say that in English, but I guess the saying is very literal, that when we relax, our pulse slows down, our hearts doesn't have to work that much when we are not so stressed. And in Denmark, stress is a very big problem. There's a lot of people with stress in Denmark. And I'm going to talk about, in Danish, stress, knitting, children, my garden, more knitting, me. So if you're up for that, this might be a good vlog for you. I would like you to subscribe, give me a like, maybe even follow this vlog. You can find me on Instagram. I'm going to write my name on Instagram here on the screen if I can figure out how to do that. And remember it, you know, remembering things can be difficult. Danish summer is a bit, I don't know, untrustworthy. We are that far up north that at the moment the sun is up at 3 a.m. in the morning, and it doesn't set until 9-10ish in the evening. We are at the time of the year where the sun shines the most hours. Right now we have around a couple of hours of pitch darkness in the night, and we have like I don't know, 20-hour days. I've heard that when people come from other parts of the world and live in Denmark, the children might find it difficult to fall asleep at night. And that's not a problem that Danish children have, because this is the way it is. I have always lived in Denmark. I've always lived in this area. I live only around 30 kilometers from my childhood home. And that's, I guess that's really normal for Danes not to move that far. My husband comes from he grew up in the country at a farm where they had dairy cows, dairy farm, and that's around 50 kilometers from here. We have a cottage just nearby. On a sunny day with blue sky, we can almost see from our cottage to his childhood farm, where that was sold a couple of years ago because we didn't want to be farmers, because farming is a hard life, and that's something that we wanted to do. My parents had their own store, so I know what it takes to be a business owner in Denmark. It's a lot of work. I guess it's the same all over the world. So I actually forgot to show you or tell you what I'm knitting. In my Danish podcast I've shown this before, but a lot of you maybe don't speak Danish. I know that you on YouTube can choose to have subtitles, but I don't think that might not be so interesting to most of you if you normally watch English podcasts, because there is so many podcasts out here. And yes, I need to start to call this a vlog, because it's not going to be an hour long. This is going to be, I'm hoping for, you know, that sweet spot between 20 and 30 minutes. But I don't have a clock telling me how much time I've used, so I'm just trying to wing it. And that's the way it's going to be, because this is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be nice. But back to the project. I am knitting from a Danish recipe. I don't think she's made it in English. It's called Svinklo, and the designer is Susie Haumann in Danish. And the yarn is this really beautiful orange yarn from Sassy Yarns. I have the what do you call it, the label here. I guess there's a lot of English words that I have to figure out. I am used to knitting from English recipe. Before, Instagram and YouTube podcasts about knitting, I would borrow a book on the library with English recipes because I thought they were beautiful or nice or something like that. And I would Google, the expressions, trying to figure out what the different things mean. What is stockinette stitch? That's actually in Danish, because it just didn't make sense to me. Stockinette stitch. I thought, oh my god, that's something really complicated. What is that? What is stockinette stitch? And I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right either. Please leave me a comment if I don't say it right, so I can learn it to say it right. But then I googled what stockinette stitch was in English compared to Danish, and in Danish, stockinette stitch is smooth knitting. If you translate it, you would say knit your project smooth. Because and that's funny. I've taught English for 10 years. I am not a teacher anymore. It made me sick. I might get back to that. How sick it made me to be a teacher. That's the stress thing I talked about. So I chose to find another job, and I'm very happy to be in the job that I have right now. Though sometimes when you're a teacher, at least for me, teaching was not just a job. It was a calling, you could say. In old days in Denmark, you said that if you were a teacher, you have been called to the job. Kind of like we talk about with priests. And that's a bit, weird. Because a job is a job. In Denmark, having a job is really important. Not just to pay the bills, but it's such a big part of your personality. When you meet new people, you tell them, oh, I'm married, I have 4 children, and I work for a living. And that's just the Danish way to do things. And I've never thought about it before starting to listen to a lot of internationals living in Denmark, because they actually wondered why jobs were so important. Because in a lot of other countries, family is so much more important. And maybe that's why a lot of internationals in Denmark think that Danes are, a bit, maybe feel a bit cold. They can feel like they're pushing people away. And that's very sad, because it's a cultural thing. We are not, in general, Danes are nice people, but we might be more private. We might be more, we talk a lot about respect in Denmark, that we respect each other's boundaries, that we try to respect each other's lifestyle, that we try to respect that people have different opinions. And I think it's a Nordic thing, not just a Danish thing. I think it's a Nordic thing. Maybe even a European thing, I've been told or heard. But I'm trying to break down some of those boundaries. I have a job where I talk to a lot of internationals and work with international, not my colleagues are not international, but the cases that I do involves internationals living in Denmark. I hope that we will soon have a world where we have more peace. I think that's a wish that a lot of people have, that we could be more respectful to each other and more listening maybe, and more honest, and talk about, the hard things maybe even. I just got a little quiet because, sometimes this world that we're living in, it's a bit, I don't know, overwhelming. I've heard people, bumblebee. I've heard people, seek out in nature to find peace and quiet. I couldn't live in a city. I hope you can hear all the birds. I really hope you can hear them, because I think that's nice, and this scenery is very calming, I hope. But I think it might be time for me to stop the chit chat. But this is what it's going to be like. This is the chit chat. This is my vlog journal thing. So I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you will find it interesting. But I think I'll be signing off for now. And I hope that you will return to this vlog. And just here, finishing off, I will show you a small video of me planting some pots. I am really late planting these pots, but here goes nothing. I hope they will survive. We've had crazy weather this summer, very warm May, and then a lot of rain the last 2 weeks, I think. Now they say that summer might be back, but then this is Denmark. You never know. I might be forced to find my winter sweaters again. There's a lot of animals crawling all over me. But let's say I'm done. Watch me plant my pots. I hope you had the time to relax, sit back, do something nice, and I hope you will return to listen to me talk about life in general. And maybe a bit more knitting, but I'm not promising anything. No, I never make promises that I can't keep. That's also why I don't participate in cows or mouse or anything like that. But, see you next time.